Think NASA's all moonwalks and Mars rovers? Most people picture NASA as a place of pure scientific wonder, a realm where astronauts float in zero gravity, engineers design the next generation of spacecraft, and rovers trundle across the dusty surface of Mars. It's easy to get swept up in the romance of space exploration, imagining a world where the only limits are the boundaries of human imagination and the laws of physics. But what if I told you that, behind the scenes, NASA is also a place of intense scrutiny, strict rules, and, yes, even criminal investigations? The reality is, NASA is not just a playground for scientists and dreamers. It's a massive federal agency, and with that comes a whole other universe of regulations, compliance, and sometimes, high-stakes enforcement. Guess again, there's a law enforcement squad orbiting behind the scenes. While the public eye is fixed on rocket launches and spacewalks, a dedicated team of law enforcement professionals is quietly at work, ensuring that NASA's operations remain above board. These aren't your average security guards. We're talking about highly trained agents, investigators, and compliance officers who operate with the precision and seriousness of any top-tier federal law enforcement agency. Their mission? To protect NASA's people, property, and, most importantly, its integrity. Whether it's safeguarding sensitive technology, investigating suspicious activity, or enforcing federal laws, these teams are the unsung heroes of the space program. NASA isn't just about spacewalks and science, it's a massive agency with tons of rules, regulations, and secrets. With thousands of employees, contractors, and partners spread across the globe, NASA's operations are as complex as any Fortune 500 company, maybe even more so. Every mission, every experiment, every piece of hardware is governed by a labyrinth of federal regulations, internal policies, and yes, classified protocols. And with so much at stake, billions of dollars in taxpayer funding, cutting-edge technology, and national security interests, NASA can't afford to let anything slip through the cracks. That's why the agency has developed a robust system of oversight designed to catch problems before they become disasters. When someone breaks those rules, enter the Office of Inspector General, or OIG, NASA's internal detectives. The OIG is like NASA's own version of the FBI, but with a laser focus on the unique challenges of space exploration. These investigators are tasked with rooting out fraud, waste, abuse, and misconduct wherever it might occur. Whether it's an employee misusing government resources, a contractor cutting corners, or a cybercriminal trying to hack into mission-critical systems, the OIG operates independently from the rest of NASA, reporting directly to Congress and the public. That means they have the authority and the responsibility to follow the evidence wherever it leads, no matter how high up the chain it goes. They team up with the FBI and DOJ to investigate everything from fraud to cybersecurity breaches. When a case gets serious, the OIG doesn't go it alone. They call in the big guns, the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Department of Justice. Together, these agencies form a formidable alliance, capable of tackling everything from complex financial crimes to sophisticated cyber attacks. Imagine a scenario where a foreign hacker tries to steal blueprints for a new spacecraft, or a contractor attempts to siphon off millions in federal funds. In these cases, the OIG, FBI, and DOJ work hand in hand, pooling their expertise and resources to bring the perpetrators to justice. It's a high-stakes game of cat and mouse, with the future of American space exploration hanging in the balance. Here's where it gets wild: executive orders. Those presidential directives aren't just paperwork. Most people think of executive orders as dry, bureaucratic documents, just another stack of papers signed in the Oval Office. But in reality, these directives carry the full force of law, especially for federal agencies like NASA. When the president issues an executive order, it's not a suggestion, it's a mandate. And for NASA, that means every employee, contractor, and partner is legally bound to comply. These orders can cover everything from cybersecurity protocols to whistleblower protections, and violating them can have serious, even criminal consequences. At NASA, breaking one can turn into a criminal case. If someone at NASA ignores or deliberately violates an executive order, it's not just an internal matter. It can trigger a full-blown criminal investigation, complete with arrests, indictments, and court proceedings. Picture this. A NASA employee is caught leaking sensitive information in violation of a presidential directive. That's not just a breach of protocol, it's a potential federal crime, punishable by fines, imprisonment, or both. The stakes are incredibly high, and the consequences can be life-altering. Imagine a contractor faking safety reports on a Mars mission. It might sound like the plot of a Hollywood thriller, but it's a real risk that NASA has to guard against every day. Safety is paramount in space exploration. One small mistake can lead to catastrophic failure, loss of life, or the destruction of billions of dollars worth of equipment. That's why NASA requires rigorous documentation and verification at every stage of a mission. But what happens if someone decides to cut corners, falsify data, or submit fraudulent reports? The consequences can be devastating, not just for the mission, but for everyone involved. That's not just bad science, it's wire fraud. Under federal law, submitting false information electronically, whether it's safety data, financial records, or research results, can be prosecuted as wire fraud. This is a serious felony, carrying hefty fines and potential prison time. And because NASA's operations are so interconnected, a single act of fraud can have ripple effects across multiple missions, endangering lives and compromising national security. That's why the agency takes these cases so seriously, and why the OIG, FBI, and DOJ are always on the lookout for red flags. You can get indicted, fined, even banned from ever working with NASA again. The penalties for breaking the rules at NASA are no joke. If you're caught committing fraud, violating an executive order, or engaging in other criminal conduct, you could face a federal indictment, a formal charge that can lead to a public trial and, if convicted, a permanent mark on your record. Fines can reach into the hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. And perhaps most devastating of all, you can be permanently banned from working with NASA or any other federal agency. For many in the aerospace industry, that's a career-ending consequence. And with today's cyber threats, the stakes are even higher. In the digital age, NASA faces a whole new set of challenges. Cyber criminals, state-sponsored hackers, and even insider threats are constantly probing the agency's defenses, looking for vulnerabilities to exploit. A successful cyber attack could compromise sensitive data, disrupt critical missions, or even endanger lives. That's why NASA has invested heavily in cybersecurity, building a multi-layered defense system that includes everything from firewalls and encryption to real-time threat monitoring and rapid response teams. But even the best technology can't stop every threat. Human error, negligence, or deliberate misconduct can still open the door to disaster. Executive orders like 14028 demand tight cybersecurity for federal agencies. In 2021, the President issued Executive Order 14028, a sweeping directive aimed at strengthening the nation's cybersecurity defenses. For NASA, this means implementing strict protocols for everything from software development to incident response. Every employee and contractor is required to follow these rules, and compliance is monitored through regular audits, assessments, and training. Failure to comply isn't just a technical issue, it's a potential violation of federal law, with all the consequences that entails. If someone messes up, NASA doesn't just change your password, they might call in federal agents. A cybersecurity breach at NASA is treated with the utmost seriousness. If an employee or contractor is found to have violated security protocols, whether through negligence or malicious intent, the response can be swift and severe. Federal agents may be called in to investigate, and the individual responsible could face disciplinary action, criminal charges, or both. In some cases, entire teams may be audited and systems may be taken offline until the threat is contained. The message is clear. At NASA, security is everyone's responsibility, and there's zero tolerance for cutting corners. So next time you see a rocket launch, remember, behind every successful mission, there's an army of professionals working tirelessly to ensure that everything runs smoothly. Not just in terms of science and engineering, but also in terms of ethics, compliance, and security. The spectacle of a rocket soaring into the sky is the result of years of hard work, rigorous oversight, and yes, a little bit of law enforcement muscle. It's a reminder that space exploration is as much about integrity and accountability as it is about innovation and discovery. There's a whole team making sure NASA's mission stays honest, secure, and, well, legal. From the Office of Inspector General to the FBI, DOJ, and countless compliance officers, these professionals are the guardians of NASA's reputation and the protectors of its future. Their work may not make headlines, but it's absolutely essential to the success of every mission. So the next time you marvel at the wonders of space, spare a thought for the men and women who keep the dream alive, not just by reaching for the stars, but by making sure we do it the right way. Want more hidden stories from behind the scenes of science and space? Smash that subscribe button. There's a universe of untold stories waiting to be discovered, from the secret world of NASA's internal investigations to the cutting-edge technologies that keep our missions safe. Join us as we pull back the curtain on the hidden side of space exploration and uncover the real drama, intrigue, and heroism that make NASA one of the most fascinating organizations on and off this planet.